Welcome back to WDRB Media, the voice of the community and those streaming live through iHeartRadio. You're listening to Words and Wisdom Radio Show, and I'm your host, Dr. Candace Chambers. If you're just tuning into our broadcast, today we are talking with Ms. Kelsey Worsham. So, Kelsey, introduce yourself to our listeners.
Hi, everyone. Candace, thank you so much for having me here today. So as you said, I'm Kelsey Worsham. I currently live in Durham, North Carolina. What I do for my full-time work is I work within marketing for Ziff Solutions. I'm their senior content marketing and communications manager, and they're a B2B SaaS company, so a big tech company in the Triangle area here in North Carolina. And then on the side, I have my own marketing consulting business. So kind of all in all, I do a lot of marketing, and I'm currently applying to business school. So trying to kind of like take the next step, would love to have my own business on a bigger scale than what I have at the moment. And that's what I'm working towards right now.
Oh, wow. When they say girl on fire, this is what I envision right here. Nice. So just talk us or walk us through your educational journey and professional journey. Like, how did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say everything started for me when I decided to go to college. I went to college at Belmont University, which is a small liberal arts school in Nashville. And when I first got there, of all things, I was a nursing major. I think it seemed like that was something that I wanted to do at the time. And I quickly realized that I wanted to be a creative writing major. So a very hard pivot from something like nursing into kind of the humanities world. But thankfully, my parents were super supportive of that. So got my major changed to creative writing and immediately fell in love. It just felt like a really natural fit for me. And kind of later within college, I decided that I really wanted to teach one day. It seemed like a natural fit for my skill set with loving to read and write and wanting to share that with other people. And so I ended up applying to grad school where I met you at the University of Alabama. I got my master's in composition, rhetoric, and English studies. And from there, ended up after grad school moving to North Carolina and really changed careers. So in college, I went from nursing to creative writing. I was in the world of academia, and then moving to North Carolina, I ended up finding a job in technology working at a small tech startup here in Durham. So it's kind of been ever evolving and changing a lot from, when I was first a nursing major back in college at 18.
Wow, what a journey. So, how did you identify writing as a strength? Like, where did that even come from?
So that's something that I really loved for a long time. I remember when I was in elementary school, we had a computer class and we were learning to type on the computers. And so at that point, I was already an avid reader, loved to read, loved stories. I would, write my own little stories on pen and paper at home. And right around the time I was taking a computer class, my dad taught me how to use Microsoft Word on his work laptop. He had like this little Wow laptop. And he taught me how to start using that so I could create my own stories on his laptop. And then from there, he would help me get them printed off. We would bind them into little books. It was amazing. It was so much fun. I was finally getting to bring all of these stories that were interesting to me to life at home. So it's something, I've always really been passionate about since the time I was in elementary school.
Wow, you were like a published author all the way in elementary school. Kudos to your dad.
Yeah, thank you, Dad, for that.
Okay, so let's talk about your life in a professional sense, I guess, like in the past recent years. So how do you help companies tell their stories through this avenue of writing?
So I would say I go about this in a couple different ways because obviously I do this through my full-time work. My job is in marketing and then also communications, like internal and external communications. So I'm always trying to share the news about what we have going on at Ziff Solutions. I'm trying to hype the company up, let everyone know how awesome our product is. And so that's one very specific type of, writing and brand representation that I do. And then on the other hand, I also have the client companies that I work with for my marketing consulting business. And it's interesting because those are definitely different types of writing. We have kind of like this B2B audience on one side with my full-time position. And then on the other side, totally different companies that I work with as my clients, like direct to consumer, all of these other things that exist outside of B2B. But I think that something you may relate to this, having gone to grad school for comp ret, is that I think it's really important to know your audience and know how to write for specific audiences. And so all of that stuff we learned in grad school has really served me well within my work today.
Oh, that's so cool. Just a side note, when we were in grad school, like both of us, like I didn't really understand like this idea of like the importance of audience in writing. But like when you start to get into the professional sense, you're like, that was actually really, really important, especially when you, like you said, for your business or your clients, knowing how to navigate those two audiences. We did learn those skills, and it actually is important, like they told us it would be.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. So let's say that, someone has their own business, they're doing social media marketing or any other type of like writing or conveying something to a particular audience. Like, what are some best practices that you can share for marketing and branding? Let's start there. So like marketing and branding for businesses.
Yeah. So on the marketing side of things, I would say kind of going back to what we were just talking about, really understanding your audience. I think that's going to help you in so many ways when you have a business, but your writing really needs to be able to pick up on unique pain points of the people that you're trying to reach. And I think if you have messaging that is unclear or is not right for the audience that you're trying to reach, you're going to cause a lot of confusion. I think that's a common problem people run into, and they don't really know why their marketing or their messaging isn't quite sticking. And I think it can come down to kind of the confusion sometimes. And I think that also carries over to branding. So I've seen some people getting started, they may not use like the same color of logo across, like their website, their email, Instagram profile, all of those things, kind of having that continuity across everything you put out. Branding, marketing, messaging, all of your writing is super important. So I would say, if you're going to start anywhere, it's just ensure that everything looks the same and it's clean and it's crisp.
Nice. Good. So what are ways, let's go to the copywriting, area. So like, what are ways people can like improve their copywriting skills?
So Candace, I brought this book that I really recommend everyone read. It's called Everybody Writes by Anne Handley. She is a lovely person and she really knows how to teach people how to be better writers. She definitely comes into this book with the approach of writing being very important. I don't think writing will ever not be important. And also like everyone can be a good writer. It's not just a special thing that only some people have access to. And so I think reading books like this, that can be a really good place to start. And she in particular has one tip called embrace the ugly first draft. So when you're writing something, don't feel like it has to be perfect or clean on the first try. Just kind of throw it all down, get it all down. I found that to be really helpful when I'm trying to write things, because I think perfectionism can kill really good ideas if you're just trying to get it so right. So yeah, I feel like that's a good tip. And just her whole book in general is full of words of wisdom.
Oh, that's the name of the show. I like that. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. I'm glad that you did share a resource for this English major in you. So thank you for sharing that, because people, can read it. Because I get questions a lot from people and they're like, they don't take writing classes like we did. They don't have writing degrees. They're just trying to figure out like, how do I improve my writing for, whatever space it's in, but specifically for copywriting, because that's your area of expertise. Okay, two more questions. What's a pet peeve of yours when you read, company, like they're trying to talk to their audience or whatever? Like, what's a pet peeve that you see with marketing, branding, writing, from your standpoint?
That's a really good question. I would say my biggest pet peeve is when people try to over-explain or make something more complicated than it needs to be. I think that this historically has existed a lot within B2B marketing and writing, and there's this big shift away from that towards kind of like more approachable language. But I really don't think that it's helpful to anyone if you try to overcomplicate to make yourself sound smarter or make your product sound smarter. People want digestible materials for like reading, writing, what have you. So I think, yeah, stay away from trying to overcomplicate it, keep it simple. And I think audience respond well to that.
Excellent. All right, Kelsey, any lasting words of wisdom that you like to share? This question is broad. It's up to you how you like to frame it, but the floor is yours.
Yeah, I would just say that really, I mean, kind of like the title of this book says, everybody writes, everyone can be a writer. And you may have had like, some teacher or something happen where someone told you you weren't a good writer at some point. And I think that can really take a toll on people and hurt their self-esteem when it comes to creating and putting stuff out into the world. So I'm here to say that that's not true. Everyone can be a writer. And I think it's important to just start and put it out there because people's voices are so valuable and the world deserves to hear your voice.
I love it. That's a good way to end the show. So thank you, Kelsey, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.